So you're thinking about getting a Fitbit. Inevitably, your next question is going to be, which Fitbit should I buy? Because the company has put out 4 new Fitbits this year and still sells 3 older Fitbits on top of that. I mean, deciding which Fitbit to get has gotten as complicated as figuring out which TV model to buy or what headphones to buy. But fortunately for you, I have all of them here with me, literally all the Fitbits, and we're gonna help you decide. The entry-level category of Fitbits are the super simple clip-on Fitbits. First there's the Zip, and then there's the One. They both track your steps, your calories burned, and your sleep, and they both have a display. The biggest difference between them is going to be battery life. The Zip has a 6-month battery life, while the One has a 2-week battery life. Also, the One will track your stairs climbed, but the Zip won't. But for some people, these glorified pedometers just aren't going to cut it. I mean, they're easy to lose or accidentally throw in the wash, and sometimes you're looking for something that you can just look down and see really easily, which brings us to wrist-based activity trackers. Here's where Fitbit designed a couple of their activity trackers to look more like bracelets and less like activity trackers that are going to ensure you'll never have a date again. The first and less expensive one is the new Flex 2, which tracks, again, steps, calories burned, and sleep activity, as well as active minutes and how long you've been sitting for. Its biggest upside is that it's Fitbit's first swim-proof activity tracker. You can wear it in the pool. The biggest downside, it doesn't have a display, so you either have to read the tea leaves and the tiny little LED lights on the band, or you have to open up the Fitbit mobile app to see your data. That's why I like the new Fitbit Alta more, even though it's more expensive. This one tracks all of the same stuff that the Flex 2 does, but it has a tap-sensitive display that lets you actually see all of that step data. Plus, it's not as cheap looking as the Flex 2, although the Alta isn't swim-proof. Oh, and neither of these have optical heart rate sensors. Which brings us to the Fitbit Charge. The Charge is in a category all of its own, not just because it's the best-selling Fitbit, but because it really has hit the sweet spot for a lot of people. It's aimed at people who are a little bit more active. Maybe they work out sometimes and they want something that's going to record that in addition to tracking stuff like steps and sleep. Last year's Charge HR did all of the basic activity tracking you could want it to do, but also added optical heart rate sensors and automatically recognized when you started a workout. Now there's the brand new Charge 2, which replaces the Charge HR. Honestly, Fitbit changed the look of its bestseller without really changing the tech inside of it too much. I mean, it has a bigger display and multiple sport modes, and it does pull GPS data from your smartphone during workouts. But otherwise, it's not a huge step up from last year's Charge HR. And then finally, there are the Sport Fitbits, the workout watches. I'll start with the older one first, the Surge. I called this one the mother of Fitbits when it came out, not only because it looks like a giant Fitbit, but because it has built-in GPS and tracks a bunch of different sports in addition to everyday activity tracking. It's also the most expensive Fitbit available, but the Surge was Fitbit being like, hey Garmin, we're here. And also, it's still the only Fitbit with built-in GPS if you're into that sort of thing. Then there's the Blaze. Oh, the Blaze. Fitbit rolled out this connected modular watch earlier this year and resisted comparisons to a smartwatch, even though it looks like a smartwatch and kind of acts like a smartwatch. Instead, it's supposed to be a smart fitness tracker. But again, it has a lot of the same technology inside of it as some of the other Fitbits, including optical heart rate sensors and the auto exercise tracking. But it doesn't have built-in GPS like the Surge. It's an odd kind of in-between activity tracker, and in my opinion, not super attractive. And then there's the 8th and final option, which shouldn't necessarily be your last option, which is don't get a Fitbit at all. Why not, you ask? Well, if you're looking for a reason, here are a few. For one, a lot of people buy activity trackers and then end up tossing them into a drawer after a couple months. I mean, you could end up spending $100 or more on something that just isn't that compelling for you. 2, Fitbit might not always be the most accurate. I mean, I've had some issues around distance tracking with the new Charge 2, and Fitbit has even come under fire for what some consumers allege is inaccurate heart rate tracking during intense workouts. Lastly, there are plenty of other activity trackers out there now. I mean, tons of them, ranging from the super cheap and casual to high-end fitness trackers. So if you aren't totally sold on the idea of a Fitbit, I suggest doing a little research first and seeing if there's something else out there that might work better for you. And where else to do that research but on The Verge? So for some reason you are ah!